I'm going to talk a little bit about my career path and the risks I took and did not take to get to where I am in business today. In order for me to do that, I need to give you a little bit of a timeline of my career and what that looked like. I started working on the floor of the CBOE in January 1986. It was the year the Bears won the Super Bowl. For us old-timers here in the audience, can appreciate that. I was just back from 1.5 years at the University of Iowa and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with myself. The trading floor was calling my name, not to mention my parents said, "You need a job." I started out as a runner, worked my way up to crowd clerk, floor manager, phone clerk. At the time, these were all very coveted positions. I was handling stock orders for the market makers on the floor, making sure that they were executed. It was very high pressure and fast-paced. You really had to have some thick skin and think very quickly. It was definitely not for the timid or the shy. I worked for First Options of Chicago for about 8 years when I decided to move on and work for a couple of traders for about 1 year or so. And then I got an offer to be a floor manager for O'Connor and Company. Knowing Mr. Cermak, as Mike mentioned earlier, I was there for about 2 years. Keep in mind, it's about 1997, and it was a busy time on the trading floors. And a lot was going on. Everything was being manually traded and processed. There was no electronic trading whatsoever. I had been on the floor now for about 11 years, and during that time, I went back to school at night and finished my degree from DePaul University. I knew it was important to do that, and I now had a better outlook on what I wanted to do in life. Being on the trading floor focused my efforts at the time. I had gotten married in August of '96 and bought our first home together in the city in August of '97. At the time, my then husband was also a trader on the floor of the CBOE. It was a great time and things were going well. In '97, I took a new job at a company called Pax Clearing. My former boss at my previous firm, O'Connor, had hired me to go to O'Connor and now was doing something new at Pax. And he asked me to join him there and start up an options and stock execution business for their traders. I said absolutely, as we had done this at O'Connor and Company, but on a smaller scale. And I also worked for him at my first company, First Options of Chicago as well. I didn't have any responsibilities at this time, and I could take risks. This was my 4th job in 11 years. I was moving my way up the ladder in various roles and gaining the knowledge I needed to be successful in my role as well as contributing to the company's success. I was making decent money with benefits, 401k plan, and life was pretty good. Early in '98, while I was working at Pax, I learned I was pregnant with my first child, who was born October that year. We were thrilled and it was awesome. 5 months later, I learned I was pregnant with my second child, who was born in December of 1999. It wasn't planned to have almost Irish twins, but nonetheless, I was happy. Just imagine having to go to your boss and saying, "Guess what? I'm on maternity leave again for the second time in the same year." It was stressful to say the least, but it all worked out. Let's go back to the thought of taking risks when you are working through a career path. I was okay with that, especially being single and having a spouse who worked. Well, that all came to an end around 2000 when my then husband decided to quit work and stay at home with the kids. We just bought a brand new house in the suburbs, and while it was under construction and waiting to move in, he decided to quit. I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, so the pressure is on. I'm the sole supporter of our entire family, and we just moved into a brand new home. Over the next 7 years, I stayed in my role at Pax, and didn't look for another position, as I knew I could not take a risk of leaving my job and starting something new. That being said, opportunity came along. I left PAX for more money because we needed it. In hindsight, it was the worst thing and the best thing I ever did. I ended up getting let go after a year. Devastating? Absolutely. But the best thing that happened to me career-wise. I had been working on a project with this firm and CBOE, and immediately CBOE hired me that day. I wasn't even out of work maybe a couple of hours. All I could think of that time was I should have never left PAX Clearing, and I'm an idiot. I ended up working for CBOE for 7 years, and it was the best choice I made in terms of career path and job security. I left CBO for my current role at Box Options, where I am Vice President of Business Development. I have been at Box for 8.5 years now, and I do a lot of everything. Towards the end of my career at CBO, my husband and I divorced, and I was able to support my family and not have to worry so much. But I will tell you this, and this is one of the main reasons why I was asked to speak with you today. I felt there were times that I was not able to take as many risks in my later career, as I had 2 children and a spouse to support. I passed up numerous opportunities, including a job that would have taken me to New York. That being said, do not be afraid to take risks and put yourself out there as far as career moves and paths are concerned. You never know where things will lead you to and who you are going to meet. I want to share with you some statistics I recently read from PEW Research Center on a white paper titled, Raising Kids and Running a Household, How Working Parents Share the Load. Among working mothers, 41% report that being a parent has made it harder for them to advance in their career, and about half that, or 20% of working fathers, say the same. 39% of mothers who are employed full-time say they spend too little time with their kids. That was always tough for me, as I did feel that I missed out a lot on my kids' younger years. I worked full-time. I did travel frequently for work while I was at PAX, CBOE, and Box, and was always trying to juggle activities and time with the kids. I felt the pressure at work with regard to not being able to say no to travel and not attend a client event. I felt that if I said no to these things, I wouldn't be considered for the next client visit or out-of-town event, and just excluded, to put it simply. As you explore opportunities in the workforce, whether it is an internship or a career path, get yourself involved in anything and everything that you think will help you in terms of networking with others and being involved in industry groups and organizations. If your company will allow you to attend any conferences that would increase your knowledge and allow you to network, by all means, you need to do those things. Take a risk and put yourself out there. I started off in my career not doing so much of that, but I always knew that I wanted to. The resources weren't really there at the time. One of the organizations that I have been involved with a little over 20 years is the Security Traders Association of Chicago, or STAC. We are an organization of 500 people here in the Chicago area geared towards the financial industry. We just recently created a student membership that allows folks like you to join STAC at a reduced rate and take advantage of the many events that we have, such as fundraising for our scholarships or networking events, as well as educational opportunities. STAC really allowed me to flourish in terms of taking risks and putting myself out there. I joined the organization, and after a year or two, I was asked to be an advisor on the board, and of course I joined. Why wouldn't I? I was an advisor for a year or two, and then was asked to move up to director, and eventually decided to run for the executive board, holding all 5 positions over 5 years, and eventually becoming president of STAC. This allowed me to be able to participate at the national level. At the national level, we have 26 local affiliates, as well as Canada. After my term as president of STAC, I decided to run for a governor position at the national level. I ended up being elected to a 2-year term governor twice for a total of 4 years. This really allowed me to expose myself as well as my company to the various folks that I would have never had a chance to meet. The other benefit of being on the national board, and still do to this day, is that every year we have a conference in DC where we get to meet with our congressmen and our senators and spend a day up on Capitol Hill and discuss the important industry topics that are a concern to our industry and our mission statement. Meeting with the local reps is important for them to understand what the hot button issues are in our industry and help them understand the topic and answer any questions they may have. These folks tend to sit on the House Financial Services Committee or the Senate Banking Committee, and they need to understand what those issues are that are impacting our financial industry. It's worked out well, and having the opportunity really brings credibility to who you are and what you're passionate about in terms of my industry in particular. I would never have had the opportunity to meet these folks like this if I did not put myself out there and I did not get involved. I can't stress enough about getting yourself out there and taking risks in terms of your career. I also belong to two other organizations called Women in ETFs and Women in Listed Derivatives. For all you young ladies out there, the financial services business still needs quality women in our industry, and organizations like this is a stepping stone towards your career and being able to network with other like-minded women. There are not a lot of us there, and it is especially important to stay connected with groups like these. We are about women empowering women and helping each other as best we can. It was not easy being a woman on the trading floor, with the majority of it being men. Again, I mentioned you had to have thick skin to work down there and hang with the big boys. As far as mentors were concerned, I had a couple of great male mentors along with a woman and got some great training and advice from them. They helped me to believe in myself and open my eyes to taking risks and having the confidence to put myself out there in terms of my career and getting involved and to control my career path. Yes, there were regrets, missed opportunities for sure, but you can't ever be afraid to take those risks and meet the challenges head on. Perseverance and advocating for yourself is the key to being successful in everything you do. I'm not telling you something that you don't already know, but remember, when an opportunity comes along and you are second-guessing it, I would say go for it. It just might be the best decision you ever made. Good luck with your studies and your future careers. Thank you for having me.
We read dozens of news sources, so you only have to read one. John Lothian News.